I'm Harriet Whiting, and my address is 1 Royal Way, Dallas, Texas.
Okay, so let's start out. Tell me, where was your family from originally before they even got to South Africa?
Yeah. And both my grandparents came from Lithuania, and my mother's parents went in the late 1800s to South Africa, and some of my grandfather's family went to Canada. My father's parents went to England first, where their name was changed to Smith. And then a few years later, they went to Cape Town. There were 12 children in that family, with all those children. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's how they came to be there. But we do have cousins all over the place in the States.
And your immediate family, how did they get to, where did they settle when they came to South Africa?
My immediate family, my mother's family were in Kroonstad, which is in the Orange Free State, a little farming town. My grandfather, after schmoozing like all the immigrants did, started buying farms. And my father's family settled in the Cape, where they were all eventually schooled and into sports and so on.
How long were you there before you had come across the decision to move out of South Africa?
Well, we moved in 1977, and for a few years we had been talking about it, but not really. And then 1976 came with all the riots, and there were a few interesting incidents that happened that we suddenly realized we needed to be out of there. With apartheid, we didn't dream that Mandela would come to power. We didn't think that would ever happen. And so we started looking. My husband, David, is a physician. We came to America. He went to one of the Dermatology Academy meetings. They offered him a job. And we were one of the very lucky ones because we got a green card within 3 weeks of returning. Aren't we lucky?
Yes.
So lucky.
What city was that? You said he was offered a job.
In Dallas.
Oh, okay.
And then he was also offered to go and look at something at Duke. We went to Duke. It was the first time I'd ever seen snow. It was in January.
Oh.
But we decided Dallas was a bigger city at the time and we wanted to be here.
Was that your main reason for coming here, or any other considerations?
Mainly political. We decided that they were talking at the time that they were going to script all the young men into the army, and we have 3 sons. And we decided that if there was civil war, that's not what we wanted. It seems fanciful now, but at the time it was a very big consideration.
No, it makes sense.
Yes.
So you came here, but did you consider, you said you were thinking about it back and forth a little bit, any other country, any other place before he had the interview?
David has qualifications in England, but we decided that this was better for the family. Australia seemed so far away, although most of my sister's children and family have landed up in Australia. So,
how long have they been there?
Oh, about 25, 30 years. They went very early when they were quite young. My sister stayed though. She did not move.
She's still in South Africa?
Yes, she died 2 years ago, but she's, yeah.
Any other family and friends, when they saw that you were leaving, decided, well, they're going to go ahead and do that as well, besides your sisters?
No.
What about your parents?
My parents, my mother was alive, and she was absolutely for us moving. At the time, she was in an old age home, and she did not want to come. She wouldn't consider, although she visited quite a lot, she didn't want to, she had her sisters there and her friends.
It's hard to move, no matter
It's
what.
hard.
When you're
yes.
younger, it's a little easier.
It's a little easier.
It's more exciting and romantic and adventurous.
Yes. I think emotionally you don't really realize what it's like.
What's in store.
Yeah.
Well, when you first got here, to Dallas. What were your first impressions a little bit?
Well, you know, we visited and we'd actually stayed with the mentors. Alan is,
Jill.
yes, David partly trained Alan, so we knew them well. And we stayed with them for about 2 weeks before we bought a house. I think it was very exciting. It was very different. You know, even buying milk was a catastrophe. I'd never seen so many varieties.
I thought about that.
Yeah, it was, you know, you're used to going to the dry cleaner. It took about 2 years to sort of know where I was going, driving on the other side of the road. People were actually fantastic. Because David was at the medical school, we assimilated quite quickly. You know, there were no options.
Where was your first house here, your home here?
It was on Hallmark, near Hockaday.
Okay.
And then in about 83, we moved to Royal. So schools were a problem because, you know, they had started the busing and we didn't know the system. I'd been to a convent, so we sent the children to St. Monica and to Tiferet, Israel for bar mitzvahs, lessons and so. So we ran the whole gamut of schooling.
How does your Jewish life, cultural life, compare to back home to here?
I think we were so sheltered there that it was just there. And here you know, when we started out, we had to work for it. Work to belong, work to get to know the communities. Quite early on, I became a board member of AJC. So that's still my passion. Okay. And NCJW and all of them. And so I think there's more opportunity here to take part in Jewish life. It's not just there, if that makes sense.
And it's grown a lot here too.
And it's grown tremendously. Yes, totally.
Now, what type of employment did you have back home and what did you do here?
Well, I was in radiography and x-rays, and as far as I was concerned, actually all things sort of happened, and I opened Brian Ellman's practice. He's a radiologist from South, you know Brian, and Charlotte. And then went to the medical school to open up Ashton Center Radiology, and then Children's Medical Center, and then decided to retire. And so I went into consulting for CERN, which is a hospital-based information systems. And then one of our daughters opened a training business. It sort of grew, and it's called Image Dynamics. And so I've always been part of it, and in about 2000 I joined her.
Wonderful.
Yes, so,
And she's here.
and she's here, yes. 2 of our 5 children are in Dallas.
Okay.
So
What are they doing?
one is a lawyer. Kim runs this business. One daughter's in the Channel Islands in Jersey. Her husband's in banking. One is in Australia. He's a biologist and a professor at Macquarie in Sydney. One's in Florida, and he owns a little deli restaurant.
Where?
In Tamarack.
No. I used to live in Plantation.
Oh my goodness. But
5 minutes probably from his place.
Oh, I'm sure. And he went to a school called Johnson in Wales, which you know is a hotel chef school. And this is his sort of passion, and he's done different things around it, and now they've opened this restaurant, a little restaurant,
That's wonderful.
and loving it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you have any grandkids? I'm sure. Anywhere?
8.
8.
8. Only 1 girl.
Oh.
Isn't that amazing?
So who's here?
So we have
Who
4
do you get to
boys
see?
here.
Okay.
Simon is here and Kim is here. They each have 2 boys. One is 17, one is 15, Kim's boys. one has just gone to college of Simon's Sons, and the other just started high school. And then 2 boys in Florida.
Okay.
And then in England, our only girl who's now 16.
That's
So,
wonderful.
yes.
And hopefully you get to see them different times
We
of the year.
do. We do. We're very lucky.
Very good.
Yeah.
Have you been involved, you say obviously you and your husband are in the medical community. Have you
Right.
gotten involved in things civically, Dallas-wise, besides the Jewish community?
Really only medically,
Okay.
and then mainly the Jewish community.
What traditions would you say you've brought here with you, if any?
You know, when you asked me that, when you
Yeah.
read that
Yeah.
question to me, all that came to mind was this silly story about the food and the Jewish holidays. And I think those are traditions we've really brought with us. The herring and the liver and the lots of also. And I think what is so warming is that I have a dear friend who grew up in Detroit, and her grandmother used to do exactly the same things as my mother did. And you know, it's just
Traditions
it's
anywhere.
everywhere.
They're almost the same.
It's the same. We just
Well,
have that.
specifically that, do you see that any of your traditions here, besides Jewish traditions, have actually been South African traditions, or not so much? Not really.
I think if I really put my mind to it, I think entertaining at home might be something that we brought, but I don't know that that's uniquely South African.
Okay.
You know, I think basically everybody's sort of social. And
How important was Israel to you and your family growing up in South Africa?
you know, it was important that we had still have Israeli cousins. I think it's become more and more important as the years have gone on, and the problems and so on. It's very important. And I think it's a different stage of life too. I think when we came, you know, one was younger at a different stage with young kids and so on. So,
Now, you've mentioned your family is spread out a bit, your immediate and beyond.
right.
Are there still family or friends that are in South Africa that you wish would move here, or that are considering moving?
I think I only have one niece left there and her one son. The others are all in Australia, as I mentioned. I really wish she would move out. I wish she'd be with her siblings in Australia, if not here, probably Australia.
Not in the cards.
No, it's not in the cards too. Otherwise, everybody, you know, so many people have moved either Australia or here, even England. We have a lot of people.
What, if anything, do you miss about your life in South Africa?
I think less today, but in the beginning was just that family. And a history, you know, you lose your past. You can't say, do you remember when, do you remember so-and-so? It's just that you know certain things. And I think as time, you know, 38 years, 38 years, is a long time to form another life. And we've now got our own family group.
Were you
so
able to
things
find people here, I'm sure you were, that were from somewhere near where you were from? Or-
Yes, I think there's still people in the community that we're friends with. Yes, obviously, yes, very much so.
Obviously, you have citizenship.
Yes.
How long did that take you? What was that process?
Oh my gosh, that was we'd been here 5 years to the day when we got our citizenship. Yes, absolutely. If we were going to live here, we were very adamant that we needed to vote and be part of it.
How often have you been able to return for a visit?
In the early days, we went, you know, pretty regularly, maybe every 2 years and then 3 years, especially when my mother was alive. And now we haven't been, apart from going out 2 years ago for my sister's funeral, not in 10, maybe more years.
Okay.
And if I went, it would be to the game, wonderful game and parks, and to the Cape, but it's pretty violent. Yeah.
It's a shame.
It's a great shame.
Yeah.
Terrible pity.
Such
It'll
a beautiful
come right.
place too.
It is absolutely gorgeous.
Can you sum up for us, Harriet, in general? Obviously you are, but tell us why you're glad that you came here.
I think that we are so lucky. It's given us, all of us, a chance, especially myself and David, he will tell you that too, a chance to do things that we never dreamt we could do. It really is a land of opportunity. Sometimes hard. I mean, we work pretty hard, like everybody. We really thank God every day that we got our citizenship and that we're here, even with all the funny goings on sometimes. So I think that sums it up.
Yes. All right. Well, we're happy to have you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you.